refactor things so that first, let me just make sure my microphone is working. Test, 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 test. Okay, it looks good. So, I want to talk about refactoring and how to do it elegantly. Sometimes you'll notice in a method, let's just start with testing, how to refactor testing to make it more robust. When you are doing a test, for example, this is the test lecture method, you'll see in the when clause, we actually invoke the method that we are testing. At that point, there are points of variance. Those points of variance are actually called arguments. That's this one and this one. That's the thing that's going to make the outcome of this invocation vary. So I call them points of variance. If we actually delete the reference, wherever that initial thing is coming from on this invocation, these two arguments, let's trace it back. Control click, we see it's pointing to learners. We see it's pointing to control click, number of hours to teach learner. Okay, so these two things are the thing that we should delete. We delete it. Now we will create parameter and we will hit refactor and we will create parameter and we will hit refactor and we will duplicate and we will delete the arguments and we will paste and then we will call the method. And now it's much more robust. Now this test lecture method is just one of potentially many which have different sets of learners and different number of hours to teach learners. And with that, we can then see different outcomes with different arguments elegantly, while still maintaining all of the common code, down here at the bottom in the test lecture method that we just abstracted out. So hopefully I explained that clearly, but this is just a way to make your tests more robust. Obviously, there are other ways to do it because we have the I can't quite remember her. I can't quite remember, but yeah, the parameterized.parameters and this guy also is the same, but I like to try to solve it without leveraging any features of the framework before using that, because at that point I can then pass in parameterized arguments as well. At this point, I'm just thinking about how to explain this elegantly. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. If you like this pattern, you can go with it. I really like this pattern. This is my recommended pattern for making your tests more robust. If you have just a single test lecture method and you want to try 2 different ways to test it, this is an easy way to do that. Also, here's another example. Let's say we have a method here, test teach. You can see in the when clause there is a teach invocation, and it invokes on a single learner and a single learner and number of hours to teach learner. So we can actually remove these 2 arguments the same way we did before. Go here, click on create parameter, refactor, click on create parameter, refactor. We can then duplicate, delete the arguments, and then paste. Which did I copy? I did not copy. So let's undo all of that and redo, because just make sure we get this correct. We can cut this, create parameter for the arguments that we just cut, and then we can duplicate the signature. We can then paste those arguments within the new method, and we can invoke that method with those arguments. We also need to make sure this is a unique signature, so we get rid of those 2 arguments. And there you have it. Now if we want to test it in a different way, we can have test teach 1, test teach 2, and try it with different students, try it with different learners and different number of hours to teach learner. Hopefully that made sense. And actually, I usually like to refactor this if I am going to have them both in the same class at this point. I like to refactor it like that, just so I can see what's being tested high level, and then if I want to dig deeper, I can then go deeper if I need to. That's all.